Hello to everyone, Vladimir Vladik, the Bulgarian cowboy, and I just want to say sorry because I probably won't be able to reply many comments and questions because I'm very, very much busy. After this, I will be very, very much busy with some other things. I have interview with Andy Young. I'm literally in the break between the rounds. In the break between my obligations. So right now, looking back at that UFC fight night, Smith versus Teixeira. It happens on Wednesday at White Star Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. And now let me analyze. The first match is Chase Sherman versus Ike Villanueva. Well, Chase Sherman, purple belt kickboxing, blue belt in BJJ, very, very decorated fighter, and he fought at bare knuckle against Sam Shoemaker, which ended in a split draw. And, you know, he also won the fight against Arnold Adams, but let's not discuss that. He was also a former UFC name, which is kind of interesting. And now, in the absence of fighters, they called him out again. So Justin Ledev, Walt Harris, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Justin Willis, Augusto Sakai were better than him, defeated him via decision or knockout, but he was better than Rashad Coulter and Damian Grabowski. At Island Fights, he was undefeated against Frank Tate, Jeremy May, Rashawn Jackson, and he is a real finisher. I mean, Chase Sherman is a real finisher. That's how I call him. Very, very powerful fists, very, very great fighter, and so on. And he squares off against very, very experienced fighter, Ike Hurricane Villanueva. You may never heard of him, many of you, but the guy is very experienced. He's actually 36 years of age, and it will be his UFC debut. He fought at Bellator against Richard Knapp. He fought at Supreme Warrior Championship Shark Fights. And, he was losing to some big names like Justin Ledet, who then lost to Johnny Walker. He lost to Travis Gillet at Legacy FC, lost to Antonio Jones. But right now, he's in a good streak. Patrick Miller, Juan Torres, Roger Narvaez, Rashad Coulter. I expect this will be the clash of two finishers, if you know what I mean. Two finishers are squaring off against each other, and two finishers are going to put on a show. I expect a stoppage, but right now, I believe Chase Sherman is in a better shape, But to be honest, I like Ike Villanueva's style. He fights smartly, He's not just a guy who will constantly brawl and go at you and so on. I expect a stand-up war. I give slight advantage to Ike Villanueva. Next fight is between Hunter Asura and Brian Kelleher. Hunter Asura is an undefeated prospect, really, really undefeated prospect, who defeated Chris O'Connor at Dana White Contender Series and then bounced back with a fantastic unanimous decision win over Brett Katona at UFC Fight Night 158. At LFA, he was defeating everybody. I especially remember his knockout against Jaime Hernandez. Many will say it was a TKO, but that kick to the body stopped the fight. I watched it. So he's a very, very good stand-up warrior, very great takedown defense. He's squaring off against Brian Kelleher, brown belt in BJJ, and looking back at his score, I can notice that he finishes many of his opponents, but he has a very, very nasty and powerful guillotine choke and rear naked choke, and he is better on the ground. I mean, we can discuss whatever we want, but Hunter Asura is not a ground dude. Brian Kelleher is better on the ground. So if Hunter Asura wants to win this fight, he needs to keep it standing. Brian has a strong spinning back fist, which he showed. He is the former Ring of Combat bantamweight champion, and it's never easy to win Ring of Combat. He is also the former vacant WC MMA featherweight champion. So Julio Arce came from Ring of Combat, and you know that Julio Arce, the guy defeated Julio Arce. What else should we discuss about? The guy defeated Julio Arce at Ring of Combat 54, And if you defeat Julio Arce, that's a very, very powerful. That means you're a powerful dude, And at UFC, he defeated Yuri Alcantara, Damian Stasiak, and Renan Barao with losses to John Lineker, Montel Jackson, and Marlon Vera. And now looking back at Hunter Asura, he only had that one fight, and Hunter Asura has never felt the defeat. Right now, we got Ode Osbourne. Brian Kelleher defeated Ode Osbourne. He had ups and downs. He's on a one-win streak. I believe if the fight is not taken to the ground, I give advantage to Hunter Asura. Otherwise, I think Brian Kelleher has better chances to win the fight. I don't know. It's tough prediction, but I'd say Hunter Asura here, but very, very tough prediction. Now the next one is between Gabrielle Benitez and Omar Morales. I like to call it the South American Derby. This lovely, lovely clash. That's how I love to call it. And this will be a tough battle. Gabriel Benitez, 21-7. I mean, also not much known fighter, but he has UFC contract for a very, very long time, At TUF, he competed at TUF Latin America Season 1, where he lost to Leonardo Morales, but then he inked UFC contract, defeated Humberto Brown Morrison, Clay Collard, Sam Sicilia, Jason Knight, Humberto Bandenay. He lost to Sadiq Yusuf, Enrique Barzola, Andre Fili. He was mostly losing to counter shots. The guy has one of the greatest hearts in the world of MMA, and he's a heartful fighter. He will fight until the last dying breath. He's good on the ground, but he fights with his heart, and he's powerful. He can slam you so hard. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when we talk about Gabriel Benitez. Omar Morales is an undefeated fighter. Morales, however you call him. Omar Morales, actually, his only technical loss, which was overturned, came to Stefan Verlman, the Arubian guy, who I plan to interview soon. And that was overturned later, but then he was defeated everybody. I mean, even at Bellator, he defeated Troy Navratsky at Contender Series. He turned the lights out on Harvey Park. And then he deserves respect. He defeated Dong Yun Ma, But looking back at the fights, Gabriel Benitez, where he was, and looking back at Omar Morales, I don't think Omar Morales has enough experience to fight such a powerful guy like Gabriel Benitez. He is powerful. He is good. I mean, he is a good all-rounder. I can't say he has very hard kicks and so on, but against Gabriel Benitez, I think he needs a bit more. So I give advantage to Gabriel Benitez here. Now, Sierra Eubanks versus Sarah Moorish. Another very, very interesting, entertaining clash because Sierra Eubanks, Joe Rogan said that he doesn't even know who she is, doesn't even know to pronounce her name. And she has a score of 4-4. I mean, let's say an average fighter, but I like to watch her. I mean, she always looks for the finish. She's fighting. I mean, she can't finish every single fight, but she's looking for the finish. And that's what I like to see about Sierra Eubanks. She is not a tactician girl. She goes to fight. Maybe she didn't. She lost 2 times to Aspen Latvia, unanimous decision. So it's a good result to me. Victories over Lauren Murphy, Roxanne Modafferi. It's okay. I mean, and she won TUF New World Championship. She won defeating Maya Stevenson, Diana Bennett, and Roxanne Modafferi. So she's kind of good all-rounder. I mean, you can say whatever you want. Despite she is 4-4, she is a good all-rounder. And now a girl from British Columbia, Sarah Moorish. Score of 6-5, pretty much even match for both fighters. And Sarah Moorish lost to Jessica Andrade, Lucia Pudilova, Talita Bernardo, and Macy Kiason, with victories over Ashley Evans-Smith and Liana Georgieva. And this is going to be a tough match, very, very tough match. But Sierra has good stamina. Sarah Moorish has good stamina. Both of the fighters will be looking to finish the fight. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's going to be a stoppage or submission, but somehow I don't think the fight will be stopped here. I have some feelings that the two will trade everything they have. To me, it kind of could remind on Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, a wild trade of shots and so on. But I believe it goes to decision, and I believe Sierra is going to bounce back with the win here. Now, the next fight, Michael Johnson squares off against Thiago Moses. Thiago Moses, the American top team fighter, a strong, powerful Brazilian dude who earned his UFC contract with victory, TKO victory over Gladson Moraes Curtis. And then a White Tuesday Night Contender Series Brazil, Season 1, Episode 3. At LFA, he had good results with the score of 1-1. At UFC, I mean, he had ups and downs. Benel Dariush, Damiris Magulov were better than him. He defeated Kurt Holoblo, and all of his fights went to decision. But Benel Dariush is a tough dude. I mean, I watched that guy. He's so tough. Michael the Menace Johnson, well, he is an interesting fighter to watch, 1915, but never mind. He was having ups and downs, losing, winning. He's one of the veterans of this sport, who lost TUF 12 finale to Jonathan Brookins, but he has good wins. I mean, Edward Faolototo was a good opponent, Joe Ozon, Gleison Tibau, Melvin Gillard, Edson Barboza, he was better than Artem Lobov, Andre Fili, and so on. He lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov, Justin Gaethje, Josh Emmett, Stevie Ray. He was losing to big names, Nate Diaz, Benel Dariush, and he's also a guy with a big heart. You remember when he returned the money purse to Artem Lobov, you know? No, Artem Lobov returned him that. Sorry, Artem Lobov returned him that. My mistake. But what I want to say is Michael Menas Johnson is a powerful guy, powerful guy with a strong rear punch, and he knows to brawl. He knows to fight in the stand-up. He is known for fantastic kickboxing. His submission game is fair. The other side, we got Thiago Moses, however you call him. Very good submission guy. Very, very good submission game. I'd call him a mixed martial artist, but with a very, very good submission game, you know. And his submissions are very, very good, very, very powerful. I believe his submission game might be his trademark, you know, because if the fight is taken to the ground, that definitely will give advantage to Thiago Moses, but I don't think he can trade shots with Michael Menas Johnson. Michael Menas Johnson is an experienced, tricky counterpuncher and a very, very wise fighter. He fights very smartly. He is always ready to go to the next level. He's always ready to prove fighters that they are wrong. He's always ready to surprise them. He's the former XCF lightweight champion, the former MFL lightweight champion with a huge level of experience. And if the fight remains standing, that's Menas Johnson. If it's taken to the ground, it's Thiago Moses. I don't know, man. I have a feeling that Michael Menas Johnson is going to bounce back with a win here. Now, the last fight of preliminary card, if nothing happens, is the match between the former heavyweight champion, Andrei Arlovsky, and, well, we can say the new hope of this lovely sport, and the former PFL and Bellator fighter, PFL heavyweight tournament winner, Luis Filipe Lins, known under the name of Filipe Lins, Monstro, the Brazilian, black belt in BJJ. Let's take a look at Monstro. Monstro, well, triangle choke, rear naked choke, and finishing abilities. These are awesome stuff. When it comes to him, these are simply awesome stuff. He likes to finish fighters in the ground. He has good takedowns and very, very good, very fantastic game on the ground. He is very, very skillful, and you don't want to end up on the ground with him. Arlovsky used to be a pit bull, you know, but Arlovsky is he is the master of sambo and so on. But the majority of his game is based on great ground skills, you know. 28 wins, 19 losses, two no contests, but Arlovsky right now is out of his prime. I mean, let's be honest. He lost to Tai Tuivasa, Shamil Abdurakhimov. Walt Harris' loss was overturned to no contest. Augusto Sakai lost. He lost to him via split decision. He was knocked out by Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He defeated Ben Rothwell. But in the last 6 fights, he has only 1 win. And if he loses now, that will be the end of his UFC run. He is the former UFC heavyweight champion. You know what he did to Paul Buentello. Tim Sylvia was better than him, but that doesn't matter, you know. And when it comes to the former PFL champion, he has victories over Alex Nicholson, for example, Guilherme Viana, but he was losing to big names like Vadim Nemkov, Kelly Amundsen. But I don't think Andrei Arlovsky can bounce back. I don't think he can return. He has the most fights in UFC heavyweight history, which is the greatest score with the number of 30. But in UFC heavyweight history, I mean, he has most wins, 17. But I think that's the end of his career. Filipe Lins, I think, is going to win. And right now, we're coming slowly to the main card. So, in the main card, I'm willing to say that this is going to be very, very tricky to watch, you know, because this main card brings a lot of entertainment, a lot of fun stuff. And if nothing changes, let me say how it should look like. Carl Robertson versus Marvin Vettori. I already filmed a video about it. You can watch it. But 9 wins, 2 losses for Carl Robertson. Very, very good submission dude. Very, very powerful on the ground. With only losses to Glover Teixeira and Cesar Ferreira, who are real experts of ground game. Marvin Vettori, the Italian guy, very good prospect, you know. But Marvin Vettori, the former Venator welterweight champion, And the guy who fought for the vacant UFC MMA welterweight championship in UFC, he's kind of cool, Only losses to Antonio Carlos Jr., Israel Adesanya. He fought to a draw with Omar Morales, defeating Vitor Miranda, Cesar Ferreira, Andrew Sanchez. Carl Robertson had a very hard problem with Cesar Ferreira. Marvin Vettori has good submission defense. So I think this fight will end up in the stand-up and so on. Right now, I don't know the current shape. I already gave predictions. You can watch my video about that for this. But it's tough to pick, But I believe Marvin Vettori is in a better shape. But Carl Robertson, he is a big prospect. Very, very big prospect. He comes from the kickboxing background and powerful fighter. Very powerful fighter. He defeated Roman Kopilov via rear naked choke, Wellington Turman, Jack Marshman, Darren Stewart, and then a White's Contender Series. He turned the lights out on Ryan Spank, who recently fought in the first fight against Sam Alvey. So, I don't know, man. If I really have to pick, it would be Marvin Vettori, but I already filmed the video. You can take a look now. Ray Borg, Ricky Simon. Well, Ray Borg, 13-4, he fought for the title against Demetrius Johnson for the UFC Flyweight Championship. He was a beast back then, He's the former SCS Flyweight Champion. He was a beast back then, but when this unpleasant stuff happened with his son, well, he simply didn't recover, which is kind of normal, I'm sorry because of that happened, but it affected his career heavily. And Ray Borg had so many problems, especially after that Demetrius Johnson loss. He mostly fights to a unanimous decision. He's a very, very powerful guy and so on. But I don't know now what's going to be for him. He's advancing one division up, and he can't cut that much weight anymore. Gaido Jiu-Jitsu fighter, Jackson Winks, I don't know. He's a powerful guy. He's a very powerful, fast guy and so on. But I don't know whether this is a good division for him. I just think that he's not born for bantamweight, and he scored enough against Ricky Simon, a guy who defeated Rani Yahya, but lost to Uriah Faber and Rob Font. But he has very powerful wins, Merab Dvalishvili, Montel Jackson. And he is the former LFA bantamweight champion who defeated Vinicius Zani, Chico Camus, many other fighters. He won the contract at Dana White's Contender Series 5 with the victory over Donovan Farrell, fought for the Titan FC bantamweight championship. So yeah, Ricky Simon, he's very, very powerful, very good wrestling base, and his wrestling is simply outstanding. With such a level of wrestling, he might give Ray Borg a very, very hard time, and I expect this one is going to go to a decision. It's very hard to finish Ricky Simon. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. I think Ricky Simon will be a decision here. Now, Drew Dober against Alexandra Hernandez. Drew Dober, well, he had ups and downs, but 22 wins, 9 losses. Well, he has some powerful arsenal in his punches, in his kicks. He is also good. He's good on the ground, especially with that tricky rear naked choke. So yeah, he's looking for the finish. He has good stand-up. He has good ground game. He is kind of all-rounder, but good all-rounder. You don't want to fight him. Such fighters are very, very tough. Very, very tough opponents. Looking back at him, victories over Scott Holtzman, Jason Gonzalez, Josh Berkman, Frank Camacho, Marco Polo Reyes, even the knockout victory over Nasrat Haqparast. Well, that was the biggest shock because I was hoping Nasrat Haqparast is going to defeat him, but Drew Dober shocked me back then. Now he is meeting Alexander Hernandez with a score of 11-2. The guy who defeated Francisco Trinaldo via Let's Say, very weird decision. He was defeated to Don Cerrone via TKO, and he has victories over Olivier Eubin Messieu and Ben Dariush, but Olivier Eubin Messieu was better than Drew Dober, so it's kind of tricky, This is going to be a strong, great fight, very, very powerful match, but I don't know. I think Drew Dober is going to give him a hard time. The former Hero FC lightweight champion, Alexander Hernandez, if he has a good day, if he has a good day in the office, then Drew Dober will have a very hard time defeating him. But otherwise, some other things might happen. Some other guys would have a problem against Drew Dober. But Alexander Hernandez is a typical guy who can have a bad day in the office or a good day in the office, and you never know what's going to happen with him. But Against Monsieur, he was very dominant. Against Ben Dariush, it was the best performance of his life. Drew Dober, tactically, he fights well, very well. He's kind of always the same, you know. And now it's kind of hard to predict because I cannot predict Alexandra Hernandez's mood and so on. But I believe he worked a lot on himself since the last fight against Francisco Trinaldo. I don't know, man. I think this one goes to decision. If decision, then Alexandra Hernandez. But if it's stopped earlier, then TKO or KO victory for Drew Dober. But it could go either way. Very, very good fighters. And Vincent Prue versus Ben Rothwell. This is the co-main event of the evening. This is Vincent Prue's debut at UFC heavyweight division. The best Haitian fighter with a score of 24 wins, 13 losses, and in the UFC, he is a real veteran of this sport, who also competed at Strikeforce earlier, XFC, and many good promotions. I mean, man, he choked out Nikita Krylov. What else should we talk about? Ryan Jimmo. These were all technical dudes. He fought John Jones, and to be honest, Vincent Prue is a guillotine, is a Fon Fu choke specialist. This is killer for fighters who have good guillotine choke. Now, Ben Rothwell, out of his prime for a very, very long period of time, 37 wins, 12 losses. He lost to Blago Ivanov. Well, my favorite fighter, Blago Ivanov. Many say it was unfair loss. I say it was the most fair loss that has ever happened. He lost to Junior Dos Santos, Andrei Arlovsky via unanimous decision just to bounce back with the victory over Stefan Struve. And here is the trick. Josh Barnett, Matt Mitrione, these were guillotine choke victories. So this guy is very good with the guillotine, very good with Kimura and other chokes and submissions, but that's the trick, guillotine choke. And I believe Ben knows that he's facing off against the greatest Fon Fu choke specialist in the history of this sport. So I don't think he will try to go to the ground with Vincent Prue, because if he does, that's going to be a very, very tricky for him, especially because Vincent Prue has very, very good wrestling skills, and he can't wait for you to try to go for a Kimura or to try to go for that guillotine choke, because when you go, he just attacks you with his fantastic Fon Fu choke. So I don't think he's a good pick for Ben Rothwell. I give advantage to Vincent Prue, TKO or submission, but despite this is his debut, he is the way faster fighter. Ben Rothwell is stronger. So one punch knockout is possible for Ben Rothwell, but for Vincent Prue, I believe it's going to be a win via TKO or maybe, just say maybe, via submission, but I give advantage to Vincent Prue. And the main event of the evening, Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. Oh, what a great fight. Anthony Smith, the guy who fought John Jones for the UFC light heavyweight title, 32 wins, 14 losses, the guy who recently bettered the teeth hard, knockout artist, real knockout artist. Man, when I take a look at his score, Elvis Mutapčić, Andrew Sanchez, Hector Lombard, Rashad Evans, Mauricio Rua, Volkan Esdemir, Alexander Gustafsson. All right, he won the last two via submission, but he was knocked out by Mareto Santos and lost via decision to John Jones. So, yeah. Glover Teixeira is the submission dude. So this is not a good pick for Anthony Smith, because Glover Teixeira is 7th degree black belt in Kajukembo, 2nd dan degree black belt in BJJ under Luigi Mondelli, and the black belt in Luta Livre. So believe me, he is a very, very tough pick for anybody, and especially for Anthony Smith, because he is ready to fight, he is ready to brawl, and he is ready to go until the last dying breath. South America 220-pound champion in Shoto, and definitively one of the guys you don't want to mess with. I mean, he is good on the ground. He is good in the stand-up. He has excellent boxing, even better submission game. So the only thing that's not good in his game are kicks, but you don't need kicks, actually. Anthony Smith is a great mixed martial artist, but he is more a striker. So if Glover Teixeira takes him down, and if the fight is taken to the ground, I'd give more advantage, definitely more advantage to Glover Teixeira. But Anthony Smith has good takedown defense, and I believe he will try to keep the fight standing. So I'm a big fan of Anthony Smith, and if he is not taken down, he will definitely defeat Glover Teixeira. I believe he has better punching and so on. I don't know whether the John Jones match affected him and how much it did, but It's going to be a fun fight to watch, I can tell you that, but I believe Anthony Smith is going to defeat him. I give advantage to Anthony Smith, but you never know if the fight is on the ground and Glover Teixeira, but we're going to see. It's going to be a fun fight to watch for sure.